Welcome to Ed's Not Dead. I'm Robbie Dodd. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Peter Crable.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? And Mr. C.H. Siddons.
It's so good to be here in the cave.
I know. It's great to be here.
The cave.
The cave.
And we had a special guest with us just a few minutes ago.
We did.
He's left since.
I made the dog leave.
Finn.
I know the Finn likes you guys now.
He does.
Man, you dog people.
Yeah, that's you're newly married, Mr. Siddons. That's the first thing you do.
Is it?
After you build a porch?
No, I'm
like
good.
You did. You got to get a dog.
Let's see. I want to get a child that never grows up and poops everywhere.
You know what I don't like about dogs?
Tell me.
Is how your hands smell after you pet them.
It doesn't come off.
It's pretty...
Neither one.
What is it, like oil or the dander?
I don't know.
Dander.
Just dog.
Yeah,
just
the
dog
dog.
on your
I
hands.
like visiting dogs.
Finn is pretty cool though because he still has the puppy breath.
He does. Oh, it's not like totally heinous.
Once their teeth get heinous, the breath goes bad. Anyway, sorry, not the way to lead off a show. Welcome back, folks. We're glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. You can find us at Ed's Not Dead PC on Twitter. You can always find us on Facebook at edsnotdead.com as well to check out all the prolific writing that Mr. Crable and Mr. Siddons do about all things education.
Yeah, mucho.
All right, we got a great show tonight. We are going to be exploring detracking in the San Francisco Unified School District. That's a novel idea.
In mathematics.
We're going to make a lot of math teachers upset.
I'm not going to.
I will.
You might. That's fine. That's good. That's what you do. And then we're also going to talk about LeBron James' I Promise School, which has shown abundant promise. Yep, this year. Kudos to LeBron James for putting his money into public education. So we're going to talk about that and quiz show.
Quiz show.
What do you got for us, Mr. Sids? You got something good?
It's a quiz show about the college admissions scandal.
Oh my!
We haven't talked about that yet.
Let's talk about that.
Let's
well,
do
we
it.
will.
Yeah.
But for now, I have a quiz show to whet our appetites.
All right. Well, Mr. Crable says that our numbers, our listens are at an all-time high.
Yeah, man.
And yet we have zero show feedback tonight. Is that true?
People are just so pleased with it, they don't
yeah.
give us any feedback.
We
I don't know. People are just eating it up and listening.
We did have a listener in Arizona who took exception with the federal government having any role in education. Correct?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Right. And I have a colleague who said some pretty favorable things about our out of the box thinking.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep. She liked our crazy.
Well, and it's funny because a
education.
lot of, with Twitter and stuff like that, a lot of people interact by just liking or retweeting. I don't know what percentage of the population feels the need to like make a comment or send a message.
Yeah.
I certainly don't.
Yeah. Mr. Sid's here when he was like he disappeared, Mr. Graves.
Did you know that Robbie texted me?
Yeah, I was like,
he was like, "Hey, is everything good?
Is everything okay?
Casey?"
with
When?
Casey? Like a few days ago.
I thought you were mad at me, so I stopped texting the group.
That's funny. Why'd you think I was mad at you?
Your text lacked emotion.
Oh, he's flatlining you.
What was I?
I thought due to certain recent events that I was blacklisted. I was McCarthy.
You were not. I was not mad at you. I was concerned. You disappeared.
Yeah,
I know that sometimes you take your social media breaks and your connection breaks, and I thought maybe that was it.
It's connected. I with Twitter, I've taken a very much a backseat.
That's
Well,
good.
do you know what he's been doing the whole time he's been gone from our group text?
He's been gardening.
Well, maybe, but who cares?
That's
What he's really been doing is creating his own emoji for himself.
I know. I saw that today.
Bitmoji.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool.
It is really cool.
It's actually enjoyable.
It's good. It's got it looks a lot like you.
Yeah,
It
it
does.
does.
When I have the hat on.
Down to the bowler hat or whatever it's called.
I would definitely say it's a hipster emoji.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the beard and you got the bowler hat.
Yeah.
Now, isn't is the bowler?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bowler. I'm not sure what it is though.
It's like I call it a tabby hat.
tabby hat. Yeah,
Or cabbie hat.
It's pretty sweet, Mr. Sids.
Yeah. The
Anyway,
Gurin brothers.
What have you guys been up to? Anything special other than him?
New porch. I'm enjoying a new porch. Screened-in porch. If you don't have one, get one.
My band had our last show for a while.
Oh.
Last
Nice.
weekend, yeah.
Thanks for telling us. That was
band
great.
hi-
Glad
I
you
don't
let us
tell
know.
anyone.
Band
I know.
hiatus.
Yeah, well, remember the the hippie walkabout for the keyboard player.
Yeah, he's in North Dakota by now.
Yeah.
Where was the show?
I forgot about that.
Rhode Island Avenue. It was on somebody's front porch.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a big neighborhood thing where all the people just volunteer to have have a bunch of bands play on their front porches, and the community just walks around. It's called a porch fest.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
Cool.
It was really cool.
Nice.
Kind of a new
Did you get the text about it?
No.
As I said, I don't tell anyone about it.
Oh, you're being facetious.
Yes.
I would.
I would have went.
Casey would actually come.
Yeah.
He comes to like all of them.
I'm a balloon head. I'm an original balloon head.
You would. It's fine. I don't hold it against you.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm not offended by it.
He's making assumptions about me. What is this about? What is this about me that you know that I don't know?
You're just very busy. You're
I'm
a very important
I'm a
person.
Very busy man.
Very busy man.
VIP.
Anyway, well, it was good. The show was good.
Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun.
Are you psyched about a little band break?
I wasn't, but now I'm like, okay, I've come to accept it. I'll do something else.
Yeah, you have 3 screaming naked children at home right now that just FaceTimed us. So you have a lot of responsibilities also.
Yeah, a lot of crying.
Casey's got none except for putting up external cameras on his house.
I was just checking it a minute ago.
so he can watch people.
Great.
These are all the great books that I've read, guys.
I know.
Oh, have you? That's really
I've just
nice.
finished Jim Comey's book.
Did you?
So good.
Oh, yeah, you talked about that last episode.
Done.
Yeah.
Already?
So good.
Dude, you are...
It's an easy read.
Voracious.
Half the book's about...
Is it an actual book or was it an ebook?
No, it's an actual book.
Oh, let me borrow it.
I will. I wrote all over it, though. Is that okay?
Can I just ask you, does he... I think...
Wait, you take notes on your books?
I wasn't going to, but first half of it talks about a lot about leadership, and I was like, I like this.
Mr. Craig.
Good lessons about it.
Mr. Krebs, there's a close reading term to describe that. You annotate.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Right?
Well, I didn't know what he was doing.
Are you annotating?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah. Why is it funny?
Is he as full of himself as he seems?
A little bit, but I empathize more with him after reading it because he had no good choice.
Yeah.
There was not a good choice in the matter. And like the left vilifies him.
I don't want to go into politics.
I'm just saying. They vilify him and it humanizes him.
I'm just curious. Aside from politics, he seems to have a pretty high estimation of his own.
He does.
Of his own abilities.
He does.
And I'm sure he's he's a very tall guy.
Very tall, very smart.
Is it like 6'7"?
6'7", 6'8".
Yeah.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah,
That's a tall drink of water.
I like that story about him rushing to who was
to John Ashcroft's bedside.
Yeah, that's a great story.
It explains that one.
I'm
actually,
sure he talks.
It's
That's
pretty
his claim.
intense.
That's his claim to fame.
It's quite a story.
Yeah.
Tell you what.
What?
But it's he's got some cool, interesting backstory, like personal stuff. That first few pages, I was like, oh my God.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, what are you going to read next?
I have a book by Madeline Albright.
Okay.
Her new book
the
that came
political
out.
figures.
Yeah. She's talking about, it's about tyranny. So.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Graves, anything special?
No. But before we go into our next segment,
Yes.
I would like to say that Ed's Not Dead is brought to you by Pulp Education.
By Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform.
There you go.
We do all of those things.
We do. So, boys, we're going to talk about this piece in California Collaborative on District Reform. It's a policy and practice brief. It's titled Pursuing Equity and Excellence in Mathematics, Course Sequencing and Placement in San Francisco. So the premise of the article is detracking. I know this is a favorite of yours, Mr. Sids.
Yes.
Detracking in mathematics, which doesn't happen all that much. And
does not.
No, and I'll talk a little bit about how I taught math in a heterogeneous elementary classroom. But it's in response to a California move over the last decade where, for lack of a better phrase, algebra for all.
I think it's what they called it.
Yeah,
I think it was
algebra for all.
officially policy.
Yep,
Yeah.
in eighth grade. The numbers, according to this brief, the outcomes from algebra for all were fairly horrific. Kids did not do all that well, and then didn't do well by the time they got to Algebra 2 and even higher level math courses. So San Francisco Unified School District has taken a new policy approach, which is really based on equity and has to do with detracking math classes. So starting in middle school, math classes are now 6, 7, and 8.
Right.
and they are threaded through with algebraic content to prepare kids for algebra in ninth, and then eventually algebra 2, AP Stat, pre-calc, and calc.
And this started in 2014.
Started in 2014.
So that's 5 years of
right. So
data.
They have some good data. And famed superintendent Dr. Jerry Wiest had this one line that I always really liked, where he said, the problem with secondary education is there are too many places to put kids. And so this is really what this does. Instead of a middle school model where you might have 5 or 6 offerings that are all based on readiness level, where you could have, by 8th grade, you could have kids in geometry, you could have kids in algebra 1, you could have kids in math 8. Now you're just going to have a single course for each grade level. And then once you get past algebra in ninth, then you can start to differentiate by course. The data is promising.
It's really promising.
Right,
Yeah.
Am I right, Mr. Krabs?
Yeah, it's looking at some of these graphs here.
Yeah. Give us some numbers.
So, and I know you said it, but just to reiterate the fact that it wasn't just about failing algebra and having to repeat algebra. When you look at the numbers, which was roughly half, I think it was 40%.
40%,
yeah.
right, yeah.
But it was also that later on, the geometries, the algebra 2s
Yeah, kids
also
do terrible.
did terribly,
Yeah.
which is somewhat surprising to me, I guess. Anyway, when you look at the repeat rate for the classes of 2018 and 19 comparison, so 2018 was the last year where they had algebra for all.
Right.
So it goes from 40 down to, I don't know, somewhere around 8%.
Yeah.
And specifically, when you look at some subgroups, so African American was just barely over 50%, and that goes down to about 20% in terms of repeating algebra. Similar numbers for the Latinx community. And then furthermore, the number of math credits earned by the end of grade 11 shot up. So by keeping them back in middle school, they actually ended up with more credits by the end of grade 11, which is very paradoxical thinking.
That was good. Paradoxical.
Yes.
So, take on this. What's the secret and the sauce in the improvement in the outcomes? Is it just the detracking? Is there anything else that they did that jumped out at you?
Well, they led a comprehensive approach for building the capacity of teachers, so trying to improve their practice of teaching. That came along with the curriculum that they adopted as a school board. The other thing that is sorely missed in a lot of school districts, especially school districts with not a lot of money, but clearly this one does have a good amount of funds, is all about communication. There's a whole section on how they communicated what they were doing, why they were doing it, and how they were doing it with local stakeholders. Because as it says here, and it's true, any kind of change to a curriculum, an integral curriculum like math, is going to get some parents upset. And with all the Common Core misconceptions that arose throughout the years, and with distrust in government systems that we're seeing across the country, communication with local stakeholders is key. And it seems like they did a really good job at making sure that they did it effectively.
And a few board members ran against it, but did not win.
And that's what was most surprising to me, that there wasn't more community backlash.
Oh,
yeah.
Because this is, and I guess it's not really Silicon Valley per se, but it's the city of Silicon Valley, of Silicon Valley millionaires.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of ironic that you would have the city of tech slowing down the pace of mathematics instruction.
Yeah, so help me out here. If they're detracking, but the prior policy was algebra for all by 8th grade, then those courses weren't tracked. If they wanted every kid in algebra by 8th grade, those 8th grade algebra classes would be heterogeneous.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
Unless you had kids beyond algebra in 8th grade.
Right.
You could have had kids in
Yeah.
geometry or even algebra 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is it a tracking question or is it an acceleration question? It might be both.
And I think it's an acceleration question.
Yeah.
And because when you look at,
See how I did that? You like that?
that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, because they said they selected a curriculum package. They don't tell us what curriculum they chose, but moving from a textbook that they felt was procedural, just all based on, and if you've ever been in an algebra classroom, a lot of it is procedural because it's do this, do that.
And that's one of your. That's a bee in your bonnet.
Yeah, the worst. Because I don't understand it.
I know.
Why,
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's no why behind that.
correct, but it talks more about doing math, checking in for understanding.
Right.
And so what it sounds like is it just slows everything down.
Right.
So it introduces algebraic concepts. It says it even introduces geometry concepts.
Right.
In a more, I don't think piecemeal is the right word, but in a smaller, more manageable, chunkable sections.
I mean, that repeat rate, that number jumped out to me along with the equity numbers,
Big time.
the 40% down to 8%. I mean, that is significant. The only other thing, and help me out if I miss this because it's a pretty dense article, is, I mean, they talked about professional development, but they didn't really talk about how teachers in that curriculum, especially in the middle school level, how they differentiated that curriculum. I mean, if you have a heterogeneous Math 7 class, you've got a range of learners in that class.
But a lot of what math teachers are doing already lend itself to small group instruction and manipulative based learning and things like that that could be instructive for other teachers in the building. So I think they, if done correctly and they tap into what their skills already lend themselves to, I think could be successful.
I do. But they didn't talk about it.
No,
the
specifics aren't there.
I wanted to see the how of how'd they get teachers to not teach to the middle in those classrooms, because when you've got, I mean, I'm guessing that you have kids that are significantly below grade level in math classes with kids that potentially could be way above grade level.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's a 3-ring circus trying to, I mean, that takes a lot of skill to do that.
It is, but if you look at all the other content areas in a middle school, social studies, art electives, in some cases world languages, English classes, you have kids that are reading at a 8th or 9th grade reading level, and you have kids that are reading at a 4th or 3rd grade reading level. So you have to cater to those and differentiate your instruction for those students.
But does that happen?
It can happen.
It can happen. I mean, it does
depends
happen.
on teacher, school, principal, district, I think.
It does happen, but if we're not going to detrack math, then why not detrack everything?
And just to look at it from a fully comprehensive lens.
Fully comprehensive.
That's right. So, and I don't know what data you would use to track. So, the kids that would be taking geometry in 7th grade, let's just say. So kids that are significantly, and this is a very, very small portion of any population, but there are those kids out there that could do something like that. What data shows that they're still getting their needs met? Previous, I guess my question is, what would show that, yes, our most accelerated learners are doing so well? And then now that you are not advancing those kids, for example, on the MAP-M, does the data look the same? The kids that used to be scoring in the 99th percentile, do you still have the same number or percentage of high-end learners or most proficient learners, however you want to frame them, as you did prior? And it doesn't go into that, but I would be curious to know whether their needs are also being met.
Well, I guess I think a significant amount of tracking research shows that detracking might not help your kids that are at the higher end of the achievement hierarchy, but it doesn't hurt them.
No, and I tend to agree with that. There's also a significant amount of research that says that the beliefs that teachers bring into a classroom
that's big.
impact student achievement.
Yeah.
If kids are in a classroom where the teacher believes that they will do and work at high levels, they're going to perform better than those in different classes, which is why detracking is so important.
Yeah, I mean, teacher beliefs with tracking. It's been shown that if you're in a lower readiness level course, expectations tend to correspond to where kids are starting.
Yeah.
I also think maybe there would be unanticipated positive impacts on climate and kind of the social fabric of a school.
Absolutely.
If you have kids that are of mixed readiness with each other, I think that's a great way to build community.
And Peter and I worked in a school where there was, they had a robust orchestra and band program. And if you
very heterogeneous,
well, not necessarily. But if you were, there were 2 tracks of on level versus advanced courses, and there's the students who were in the band classes, they tended to be in this particular track, and the students who weren't in band, the band schedule basically dictated the entire school schedule.
Drove the schedule.
So there are certain groups of kids who traveled together all day and reinforced those positive or negative behaviors or academic behaviors.
And I think that goes back to Robbie's, whatever your Dr. Jerry Weiss quote was about too many options about where to put kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll give you another good one.
Yeah.
Another good one.
Yeah.
In secondary education,
It's a pretty good one.
that's my best
Pretty good.
JW Weist. JDW Weist. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. In secondary education, differentiation happens in the counseling office.
Ouch. That's so rough.
Well, but it's true. I mean, you schedule kids, and that's how you differentiate.
Yeah.
And that's...
I get it now.
You get it?
Putting like kids in different classes.
Correct. And so, and I mean, in both those quotes, he's basically nailing this article. He's talking about... I do think, though, back to the point of acceleration, and I don't know enough about this, but certainly my career has, and I guess yours to an extent, has gone along with this acceleration of everybody in algebra by 8th grade.
Right.
And that, I mean, there was once upon a time that algebra was a
10th grade course, right? Not quite.
I took it in 9th grade.
It was a 9th grade course. Okay. If you were kind of on level, it was a 9th grade course. If you were accelerated, you were it was 8th grade.
Got it.
I mean, that's how it was forever.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people out there that would tell you that it's not really developmentally appropriate for most kids that early in 7th grade or 6th grade.
Because of the abstract.
It is pretty
thinking.
abstract. Okay. I mean, and kids, there are a lot of kids that are still pretty concrete thinkers, even up into early adolescence. So,
but that doesn't mean that if you have a heterogeneously mixed class in 6th grade, that you have some kids that are operating at a higher level or thinking at a higher level that you couldn't differentiate to support those kids.
Yeah, you could. But I think it's interesting they're dialing back the acceleration in a significant way.
Well, and I think the other interesting aspect of it is that it's not a universal, we need to halt the brakes on everything across all levels. It's specific to middle school and it's specific to math.
Yeah.
Which I think makes it maybe a little bit more palatable to people that would otherwise be perhaps against it. Because I do think, high schoolers are obviously different developmentally than middle schoolers.
Right.
So they probably would be much more appropriate to differentiate and put in AP classes kids for some and not for others at 17.
But I do now I'm going to correct myself. I do know something about this, which is that I do think that algebra for all or acceleration in math did come out of a lot of research in the 80s and 90s about how the lack of rigor and academic press there was in the middle level.
Yeah.
I mean, there was research, I've told you guys this before, that I think Jacqueline Eccles did it from the University of Michigan, that showed that there was the terminal grade in elementary school was more challenging than the first year of middle school. Mm-hmm. So I think the kind of overreaction to that was let's make it harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
everything needs to be harder.
Everything needs to be harder. And I'm not, I think this speaks to, okay, let's rethink that. Just like departmentalization,
right?
That once upon a time there were interdisciplinary teams. I think the jury on that was too soft.
Yeah.
That middle school had become integrated and it wasn't challenging enough, especially once with the dawn of the high stakes testing and accountability era after the 90s. It was everything has to be hard because we're going to be accountable.
Yeah. Let me ask you. So you taught elementary school math.
Yep.
In a heterogeneous classroom.
I did. And
does that inform you in terms of this article at all?
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. And I taught. I even actually taught in a heterogeneous 4-5 combination. And so I had the range of
accelerated 4th graders,
or the most struggling 4th grader to the highest achieving. 5th
so it
grader.
wasn't base. It was just straight up 4 or 5 mix. It wasn't an ability level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, it just took a lot of planning. I had to be really intentional about how I pulled groups and how I differentiated the content that I was doing. There's always the risk of that you don't get to your highest achievers enough,
Sure.
that they can work independently and you can give them busy work.
Pitfall.
Yeah, there's a big pitfall.
Mm-hmm.
So I really had to be intentional about how I challenged them. And then, you have kids that struggle with math that you do have to spend a lot of time. There's no substitute for time for some kids with math.
Yeah.
They need a lot of support and repetition, practice.
Yeah.
But it's doable. And the thing I got out of that was that I had a great culture in my classroom. I mean, I loved it. And I built this culture where kids helped each other.
Yeah.
And that was really beneficial.
Positive learning communities.
Yeah. And some parents freak out about the peer-to-peer support because that's their highly able or high readiness level kid wasting time helping a kid that needs help.
Doing your job.
Yeah, doing my job as a teacher. But it has positive benefits.
If structured correctly, it can lead to a lot of results. That's how you learn things. You teach it to someone else.
Yep. I also did it when I was piloting Singapore math.
Oh man,
I've definitely heard of that.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, Singapore math. Was the
Such as rote.
No, it was. That's a topic for another day. Okay. It was interesting curriculum.
Okay.
They have unlike the United States, they have a national math curriculum. That they sell. And it was an eye-opening experience to pilot something that did not in any way go along with the way we historically have taught math.
Right.
Okay. All right, boys. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Final thoughts? Mr. Sids, thanks for finding this.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see what math teachers think about it.
Detracking.
Yeah, I'm curious what math teachers think. I'm curious if our just in general the pendulum is swinging a little bit back the other way away from the acceleration and more towards, like San Francisco's doing a little bit more heterogeneous for all.
I think you raise a good question about it at the upper end, though. Yeah. How might it impact kids that are really super math students?
Yeah.
All right, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to be talking about I Promise, the new school supported by LeBron James. Thanks. Welcome back to Ed's Not Dead. We are still here. We just did 3 takes on the welcome back.
So good.
The first one, they were both bad.
It's very important to say welcome back in the right tone of voice with the right amount of enthusiasm.
There's a lot of pressure.
Sometimes too much. Sometimes too
I
little.
experiment, and you guys don't think it's funny. And so anyway, I just went with the straight welcome back on that.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. All right. Thanks for joining us, folks. So we are now going to talk about a very interesting piece in what? I don't have it in front of me. What is it, Mr. Craig?
The I Promise School in Akron, Ohio.
Yeah, no, I meant the publication.
Oh, the New York Times.
The New York Times.
Yes.
How could I forget the New York Slimes?
I think it's based in New York City somewhere.
The New York Times. There's a famous conservative radio host. Now he's coughing.
Oh God!
Why are you coughing?
Nothing.
Okay, so LeBron James has lent his considerable wealth and, more importantly, his commitment and philanthropic motivations to education in his hometown of Akron. He is an Ohio guy through and through and cares deeply about kids in Akron. So this is a public school that is funded mostly from the Akron School District, but his foundation has contributed a significant amount of money. I think in the neighborhood of about $600,000.
Yeah, and the school's $2 million budget.
$2 million
is funded by the district,
the local
yes.
funding mechanism. So anyway, their motto is "We are family," and it is a school that has shown a significant amount of promise in a short amount of time for kids that have historically struggled in their other locations or their previous education. And the interesting thing, I know this jumped out at you, Mr. Craves, because you sometimes take issue with how charters and how certain schools
cherry pick
and, you know, self-select kids. Well, these are kids that have come, a lot of them from the lower bounds of the achievement hierarchy, kind of, or they've had significant trauma-induced issues. And we'll talk a little bit about that trauma-informed curriculum they use as well.
The 10th to the 25th percentile on a nationally normed test.
Which would be the MAP by NWEA.
Measures of academic progress.
Right. So
I would like to say that the motto of "We Are Family" is striking to me.
It is?
It is.
Okay.
I think you have a lot of schools that don't have that kind of motto. It's a sports motto, or it's a motto about a mascot or something. But
well,
I don't know.
I think there are a bunch of things that jump out about I Promise. One of which is the way they're approaching improving outcomes, extended school year, extended day, created through negotiated agreement with the local union, wraparound services for kids, significant resources, which I think is this is a big one that is underdone in public education for parents, GED preparation, food pantry, other kinds of continuing education opportunities for parents, and the impact of this has been to create this setting where teachers and kids believe in themselves in a way that maybe whoever they were with earlier didn't believe in them. And I think a few people in the article say that they have a long way to go because these are kids that have started significantly further behind, but they're catching up. At least their data shows that initially. So takes on I Promise. What do you guys think?
One, I would like to point out that we have on the show said,
rich people funding.
Rich people take your money and get out.
Get out.
I believe Casey might have said that.
I probably did say that, but LeBron is okay.
Yeah. So with that being said, is the caveat to all the nice things that we're now going to say about it. I think there's a couple different items at play here. So I think one to look at is the financial commitment that they have, not only from the school district, but the additional financial commitment. So very prominent in the news recently has been a lot about school funding and about, quote unquote, fully funding school districts. And I think this starts to get at what that means. Is that it's not just about... That's right. Thank you, Casey.
He's giving you the...
It's not just about meeting the minimum per pupil cost. Is that in highly impacted schools, there's a lot of different factors at play, from where the kids are coming from, the things that they experience, either in their communities and their homes, that is challenging to overcome in the best of situations. And having a school be able to support families through that, I think, is very important. The second thing I'll say, and then, sorry, you can respond to both of those, is that it doesn't talk about the awesome new curriculum that they have. It doesn't talk about all the computers that they have and all the cool technology.
Ding, ding, ding.
To me, the thing that sets this school apart is the culture of the school. I think you have people that see this and they go, yes, LeBron's cachet draws them in initially and gets really motivated, caring teachers into the building. And then this whole, the reiteration of the We Are Family, and somewhere in here it has some of the tenets of that.
Yeah.
Last segment you talked about the commitment of teachers and the belief of teachers in students to do well. And I think you have a great example of that here, of a group of teachers and professionals and whoever that are committed to students doing well, and that students are rising to meet that challenge.
Yeah.
So those are the two things for me.
Those are big.
And there was a principal in the district who said that the school values things that no money could buy. It doesn't take money to build relationships and to show kids that you love them and that we are here to support you. That's our main goal for us here at the school.
But I will say, it's easier to love everyone when you have everything that you need.
That is true. That is true. And the things that they do provide are for parents that don't necessarily seem directly connected. But when you look at the things that kids bring into schools in a highly impacted school, they're not just bringing their own issues and their own troubles necessarily. They're bringing in the troubles that their parents are experiencing when they're working 3 jobs, or don't have a high school degree, or don't have a college degree, or don't have steady work, or don't have the services that you might need to live a healthy and just a well-balanced life. So the things that they're providing the GED preparation for parents. They're providing work advice, probably like resume preparation, things like that. They're providing health and legal services, and even a quarterly barbershop, which I would never use. But it's just
go in there and get a shave of your head.
Yeah,
That's true. I could get a nice
just
little...
go in there and somebody do it for you.
I never got a good shave before. I never got a shave.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it goes to show you what you're saying, Krabs, is that funding schools is more than paying teachers and their benefits and building fancy-looking schools with all the accoutrement. It goes way beyond that, because what does a quality community need? It needs all those other things that some communities just, for whatever reason, historically or otherwise, don't have the ability to currently provide.
But I'll also reiterate, walking into a crumbling school building does not send the message and help create the culture of you are special. What we're doing here is special.
I agree. Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not. I guess I was getting more towards the point of having fancy new iPads.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
on a more
really like it.
on a more somber note, this other quote stuck out to me when it talks about, the students are doing really well, the data is looking great, or at least promising for these children. The quote that stuck out to me was that the students have a long way to go to even join the middle of the pack. To some extent, the excitement surrounding the students' progress illustrates a somber reality in urban education where big hopes hinge on small victories. So, it kind of brought me back a few steps after reading the article.
Yeah, it's hard work, and there's a lot to do, but you got to start somewhere. And we've covered research. Who was our guy? Reardon, who did the research from Stanford on the schools that add value beyond the norm. And that's basically what it shows. What I think I Promise has done. I mean, they've got to flatten the curve for these kids. They've got to accelerate them, because they're starting further behind. And then, as LeBron James and the school system have identified, there's a lot of other factors that are going to support that moving them quicker.
Yeah.
Getting their parents engaged, helping their families, all of that stuff will factor in. It's not just, they need great teachers, and I'm sure they have great teachers, and that'll be one of the biggest factors, I think. But
I think that does lend itself to a good point about bringing parents and communities into the school. The school is a linchpin of the community, or it can be, or it should be. So, and I think in a lot of areas that maybe are disadvantaged, there's not a lot of positive feelings about what the school offers them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Historically or otherwise. Maybe they had just as awful an experience in school as their children are.
Yeah. That's a good point, Casey.
What do y'all think about how it's run? Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Let's talk about how it's run. So you mean this?
We've bashed on charter schools to some degree. Not you, Robbie, but I have. So me.
I've been bashed on charter schools.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Because
there's enough. Crable's got a kid in a charter school.
Two kids in a charter school.
There's enough food at the table. There's enough space.
Now you're making fun.
That's
you
a good quote. That's a good quote.
Don't you like how he gave with one hand and then he took away with another? Whatever.
No, seriously. What do you think about it?
What specifically?
Promise is not a charter school run by a private operator, but a public school operated by the district.
Well, it's a public partnership with a private foundation.
But who is running the show? The principal's hired by the district.
Yeah.
And then to what extent does the charter school board have?
There is no charter school board.
Not board.
The school board?
Public school?
Isn't there someone that works for LeBron that has his or her say in some things that are operated, or no?
I didn't see that in the article.
Oh, okay. Then
somebody runs the Family Resource Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, but I think it's...
So what do you do? What's your point?
No, he's asking, I think, just about having a sort of...
The governance structure?
Yeah. Of having a lab, an experimental lab school under the auspices of a public school. Because usually these sorts of things are under charter schools or labeled as charter schools, but this is just a straight up public school.
And I was telling Crable earlier before we went on air is that I think everything about this seems like something I would support, where you have public schools running the show, funding it to some extent with support from outside resources. And it's not like outsiders doing it.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think it harkens back to the advent of charters in the first place, which I mentioned was by...
It is teachers in Minnesota. Don't quiz me, brother.
I can't remember the name.
Albie Shanker also brought it up.
Yeah, no, but
and then
the first charter was in
correct.
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
But Mr. Shanker talked about it to a group of educators who took his idea and ran.
That's right.
But the idea was a small group of educators, experimental, innovative, etc.
Yeah.
Still a public school, but trying something out that could hopefully inform other schools to copy their practice.
What a cool concept to have a bunch of teachers come together with some innovative programming and create some new programs for kids.
What's your butt?
Hey, well, he's irritating me.
You're such a baby.
You're a baby.
You're just mad I made a cool Bitmoji.
And okay. I don't have
You don't even have anything to say to that.
Yeah. No. So what was your butt?
I just don't. I mean, I take exception with Bitmoji boy over here and his no one else can have input or help him to run a school other than public educators.
Who am I forgetting?
Well, I think this is a partnership between a foundation that I'm sure has some say, and I'm sure they weigh in, and they need to have a stake in the game. They're investing a significant amount of resources.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay, but you just said you made it sound like it's exclusively run by the school system.
No, that's not what I was insinuating. I apologize if I did.
No,
they're giving a lot of money, which provides them with some sort of input. I'm just saying, like, it's a public school. The public school system is allowing for this to flourish, the innovation to flourish.
Agreed.
Which the door needs to open to that.
I agree.
So that we don't allow the private school companies and the private charter schools to take over in that sense.
Point taken.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I guess my point was that if you are going to enter in to partnerships where a foundation like LeBron James's foundation, which is providing a significant amount of support, therefore, you have to allow them to have some input.
They have a seat at the table.
They definitely have a seat at the table, and so, and I think there are probably a lot of examples in public ed out there where philanthropists are engaged with public schools, not just charters, but public schools, and are investing. I can think of a couple locally where that's the case. So no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying now.
The only caveat is that you have to have LeBron murals every 5 feet.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
I'll take it.
I would love to go to school with LeBron murals everywhere. I mean, as a kid, that would be pretty.
There's a wall with his shoes.
I mean, and think about how moving that is for these kids. He's a local guy who grew up and has been tremendously successful and has his own basically brand. He's a businessman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the kids are called the chosen ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a quote in here where a kid is talking about how special it is that LeBron made the school, and that as a result, they feel as well. And so one kid says, one time LeBron wrote us a letter, and I knew it was real because I saw the paper that was signed in pen. That's pretty sweet. He says, that encouraged me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another one said, LeBron made this school. It's an important school. It means you can always depend on someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, to what you were saying, Casey, it's the messaging and you are here because you're special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're not here because you're underperforming. Yeah. You're not here because of this.
Yeah.
We chose you to be here.
I like your point about the innovation too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. I've told you guys about Parkside Elementary School, which is where my dad went to school in the 30s, which was a progressive elementary school. And it was a part of the public school system and was opened as an experimental school. That's what we need. I mean, you're right, Case. We need public school systems to, just kind of open the door and let innovation happen. We've talked at length about how the door doesn't get open that much.
And I would further argue that although the original sort of like idea for charters was to take lessons learned and implement them, but in some sense, it's like this works here in Akron,
right?
Because of LeBron to some extent. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
is it replicable?
Correct.
Yeah.
So being like, oh, we'll add an hour. I could see somebody be like, we'll add an hour to the day, and we'll do an extended school year, and we'll come up with a cool motto. And it's like, well, I don't think that's really the innovation,
right?
So encourage innovation, but hyper localized innovation,
right?
based on what the community is telling you its needs are.
I guess I guess the other thing too is that is the funding replicable? I mean, if they point out in the article that the school is funded above what other schools are funded at locally, even the school system is spending more money on the school than other schools, right?
I think that, and I think you're right, but that just goes to
but can you do
the
that?
sad state of funding, I think, for a lot of schools.
But can you bring that to scale? And yeah, I know. And that's,
I mean, you could if we make it a commitment.
But that's what states and the nation has to wrestle with.
Right, yeah.
Bring it to scale.
Yeah.
Right? All right. Kudos to LeBron James. Keep up the great work. We'll be following, I promise.
Casey still thinks rich people shouldn't be in education, though.
He might change on that.
Changes too a little bit.
No.
Not at all?
No.
But you like LeBron?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you compare that with what Zuckerface did in Newark,
just giving
here's
100 bills.
Yeah. And it was kind of like, just here's the money. You can't just throw money at a problem.
No, you can't. And you're right.
LeBron.
And the research shows that not necessarily the money, inputs don't necessarily, they don't tell the whole story.
Correct.
Every dollar input is not equal.
Correct.
Yeah. LeBron came in and gave money, but also followed it up with what that community desperately needs.
Right. The last thing I want to say is that I do, it is throughout this article, they're keeping their eye on the prize, which is student achievement. I mean, they're focused on outcomes.
Yeah,
they want to move kids, and they're very. I like how they put it out there that hey, we've had a promising start, but there's a long way to go. All right, I can't remember after the second segment. Do we
got a quiz?
I think it's a
coming
quiz
out.
show.
I need a break. I'm tired. Can we go to my stamina? My Ed's Not Dead stamina is sorely lacking.
No, we gotta keep moving.
Yeah, we're gonna keep moving.
Producers,
you ready for it?
You suckers have been.
We'll take a break. We'll take a quick break.
Quick break. We will be right back.
Cash App.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. Thanks. Welcome back to Ed's Not Dead. Thank you for staying with us.
Robbie's refreshed.
I was a little tired, but now I feel good.
Good.
Did some stretching, some calisthenics.
Yep. We just went out in the backyard and watched the dog obsessively run circles. That was fun.
That was good.
Yeah, it was good. All right, it is that time of the show.
Yes.
Mr. Krabs has given us a hard deadline of we got to be done in 10 minutes.
The quiz.
So it's the quiz show.
That's right.
It's quiz show time.
Okay.
All right,
so
what do you got, Mr. Sims?
We all know about the infamous college admission scandal that we have yet to talk about the implications thereof on this show, but we will
have a quiz about it.
We'll have a quiz about it.
There you go.
Ready?
What better way to talk about it?
What better way to talk about it than have an arbitrary
pithy
quiz?
facts.
That's
Okay,
right.
multiple choice or short answer?
All the above.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
All right. The U.S. Attorney in the District of Massachusetts charged how many people
12.
in federal court as part of a long-running nationwide conspiracy to illicitly gain admission for high school students to top colleges and universities? Is it 25, 50, or 75?
25.
Well, I said 12, so yeah, I'll go 25.
It's actually 50. 50 people.
Darn.
Next, many
God,
parents
that's a lot.
many parents apparently paid $200,000 and up to how many million? It's below 10 to have their children admitted to various colleges and universities.
2 million.
3.6 million.
$6.5 million
You were closer.
dollars. Next one, number 3. Television stars blank
Lori
from Desperate Housewives and blank from Full House and Fuller House were
I know
charged as
this.
part of the alleged scheme.
Do you know this? I know both of them.
I do not.
Felicity Huffman
Yes, that's
and Lori Loughlin.
Wow.
What was Felicity
Krabs.
Huffman in?
Ding.
Desperate Housewives.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're the only ones that made the news.
That's right.
Like if the celebrity's not involved, then it goes away in like a day.
Yeah,
That's true. All right, next one. Number 5.
You can tell how closely I followed this.
I'm sorry, number 4. Laughlin and her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, allegedly agreed to pay bribes totaling $500,000 in exchange for having their 2 daughters designated as recruits to which USC sports team?
That would be Crew.
Water polo.
Crew is correct,
very
despite the
nice.
fact that they did not ever participate in Crew.
Have you ever seen her YouTube channel?
No, but I want to.
You
now.
should watch.
Lori Loughlin's.
No, their daughter.
daughter.
Oh, okay.
Their daughter. What was I going to say about that?
Crew.
I know. I was going to say, there was a picture of them, I think, coming out of federal court, wherever that would have been, Massachusetts.
Yep.
Was not a great look. He was. How do you? What's her hubby's name?
Massimo
Ferragamo.
Giannoli.
Okay.
Giannoli.
He had on what looked like a $5,000 suit, and she had this kind of self-serving smirk on her face, and they looked the part
Because they're going to get out of it.
I mean, I know they
They'll
just
pay a fine.
They'll pay a fine.
They didn't look. They just didn't look like two people that were scared that they were going to lose their freedom.
Right.
SNL did their cold open on Saturday. It was
did they?
very
Was it good?
Very good. They're all in the same jail cell with Michael Avenatti.
Really?
Oh, it's so good.
Michael
and
Avenatti.
WikiLeaks guy.
Assange.
So good. You got to watch it.
Oh, that's good.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
All right, number
cool.
5. The alleged scandal has been under investigation for approximately how long?
2
Yeah,
years.
I was going to say 2 years.
1 year.
Oh,
1 year.
lies.
All right.
Lies, fake news. 6. I'm not going to do that one. Number 7. The investigation was codenamed which of the following? A. Operation Moneyball. B. Operation Varsity Blues. Or C. Operation Blindside.
Operation Varsity Blues.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That is correct. B is correct. And the last question is, among others,
This is for all the marbles.
This is a red light challenge.
You have to bet everything.
Among others, the Justice Department alleges which 9 colleges and universities were impacted. Go.
Oh,
USC,
Ding.
Georgetown.
Ding.
UCLA,
Ding.
Harvard.
No, Harvard. They were
Nope.
they
I
were
was thinking
grateful they were
Boston.
out of it. Stanford.
Yes. Ding.
Somewhere in Georgia, Emory or
Nope.
No. How many do we name?
You have Stanford, Georgetown, UCLA, and USC. There's one. There's 2 in the south, 2 in the north. 3 in the north, actually. Northeast.
University of Georgia.
Nope.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know any of the other.
One's an Ivy League. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple.
Ivy League?
Yeah.
Yale.
Correct. Yale.
Okay.
Ding.
Dartmouth.
Nope.
Columbia.
Nope. All right.
Penn.
Nope. Boston University.
Oh man.
Northeastern.
Northeastern. I knew that.
University of Texas at Austin.
Did not know that.
And Wake Forest.
Really, Wake Forest, the Demon Deacon.
The Demon
I
Deacons.
visited Wake Forest.
Did you?
As a young man.
my
Was there?
bro-
Did
my
you see the
brother almost
forest
went
through the
there.
trees?
No.
That's a nice school.
Is it?
Yeah. My bro. That was
remember
his.
much about
That
it.
was his second choice.
It wasn't far enough away from home for me.
That's pretty far.
You could drive home. It's not
Yeah, you
far
could
enough
drive.
away.
Yeah. Yep. Not enough. I was gonna say not enough.
Love you, mom and dad.
That's funny. All right. What else do you have? Is that it?
I think that was
That
it.
That's it. That's
What,
it.
by the way, what's a red light question? What is
Red light challenge. Did you ever watch Cash Cab?
No.
Oh my god.
No. We did a cash cab quiz show though, didn't we?
That's basically the red light challenge. When you were in the car,
You stop at a red light.
stop at a red light. It triggers a red light challenge.
Oh, okay.
And if you get it right, you win X amount of dollars. If you get it wrong, there's no penalty.
Kick you out of the car.
Is that
No.
Is that how
Oh,
old
okay.
I am? That I don't know anything about that?
Cash Cab was in the aughts when you were beginning your principalship.
This is true.
It's not still on, is it?
It is. Yeah,
Oh.
it's back on.
2005.
So good. Discovery
Redux.
Channel.
Have you? By the way, has there been a 1T sighting after the Mueller?
He's
report?
been quieter than Bob Mueller in the last Bobby Three Sticks in the last 3 weeks.
Has he?
Yeah.
Okay, we got to call him at some point.
Well, we might as well call him now.
No, don't call him now because it's just going to go.
How are we? Are we up
voicemail.
against the end of the show?
Hold on. No,
What,
no.
We had
what
a
are-
couple minutes.
What are we on time?
I mean, we always have time for 1T.
Is this microphone is on? Is your fourth recording thing on?
Does our audience know about the terrible the terrible technology setup we have now?
We're not going to
No,
tell
we're not
them.
telling them that.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know. That sounds pretty. That ringtone sounds.
He's not going to answer.
Suspect.
Of course, she's not going to answer.
It's because it's coming from Casey. If I call him,
Anytime Casey calls, he's never going to
He
pick
does.
it up.
Jim Patterson. I can't get to this call right now.
Of course you can.
JP.
The message I'll
So
get
good
back
to hear
Could,
from
but you
you.
choose not to.
That's right.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished
You gonna
recording,
say
you may
something?
hang
What are
up
you
or
gonna
say?
press 1
No,
for
no, you
more
can hear.
options.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hi, Jim.
because it's got a microphone. And a cell phone.
No.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
It's good to hear from you.
Pick up the phone one of these times.
Bobby 36 is retired.
Give us
Time to come out.
Give us a call.
Okay, give us a call.
Okay, call your mother.
Yeah, we miss you one too.
We miss you.
All right. Enjoy retirement. Anyway, that's our friend Jim.
What are you going to
Patterson.
do when you retire?
Ooh, that came out of the blue.
I like to think about retirement.
I've had some fantasies lately about Florida near the Everglades where I can fish a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you going to
Hopefully
stop
Florida-
wearing shirts with sleeves?
Yeah. I will.
I think that's a
You're just gonna
requirement in Florida.
There's going to be sleeveless shirt day.
I mean, wouldn't you like to live in a place where you could wear shorts, a t-shirt, and flip-flops every day?
I'm pretty into it. Yeah.
That
I don't know if I would
that would
choose
be good.
Florida.
Yeah,
I
Florida
know.
that might not be there in 50 years. So
Florida might not be there. You're right. I don't know what I'm going to do when I retire.
Okay.
I do. I do think about it occasionally, though. But I have a ways to go.
Yeah, I'm not even close, and I think about it all the time.
jeez.
Well, Crable,
Man.
you've had.
I was bored to live a life of leisure.
Crable. Since I've known him, what year did I hire you? 12.
8. No,
12.
it was for you. It was
2012.
It was 8 years ago. It was 11, I think.
It was 11. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've gotten married,
Yeah.
which, by the way, I'm still waiting on that invitation.
Josh Dunbar showed up.
Have you ever told him how resentful I am that I had just hired him and that he didn't invite his principal to his wedding?
I wouldn't have invited you either. I don't think
What?
because I didn't know you.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I shouldn't have hired either one of you. Anyway.
But whose wedding
yeah.
did you come to?
I came to yours.
Right.
Yeah.
So relax.
I left pretty early. Though. Yeah. So you've had 3 kids and gotten married in just like
Yeah.
blink of an
8
eye.
years. A lot of changes.
A lot happened.
Now I'm going to retire, so.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, folks. Thanks for joining us once again. Ed's Not Dead. Spread the word. You can find us on Twitter at Ed's Not Dead PC. We are not giving our personal Twitter accounts out anymore.
Oh, I am
are?
at CH Siddons.
Oh, at CH Siddons. Okay,
Yep.
he's built a significant wall between his.
I have a big wall.
Yeah, okay. All right. And Mr. Krabs
Yeah, Peter Crable.
at Peter Krabs.
There you go.
Got it. Just a reminder that Ed's Not Dead is brought to you by Pulp Education.
Mm-hmm.
Pulp Education is the bomb. It is a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform. And you can find us at Ed's Not Dead. www. And on Facebook.
Edsnotdead.com.
We get a lot
Facebook.
of interest.
Facebook is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Any blogs coming out?
No, just
Couple drafts.
Yeah, but go back and check out EdTech Balance.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 C's to be a more confident teacher.
That's right.
And then little charter school policy, some suggestions. Charters don't have to be the Wild West of education.
It's charter school piece is outstanding.
Okay, can you the next blog, can you guys make sure that you quote me right in the blogs, please?
I did, yeah. So I did.
So Crable has this blog on testing
from last
right,
year.
From last year. Great. It's a great piece.
And I was
but,
like, Redux. I was like, it's already written.
okay.
It's testing
right.
season. Let's
So at the very end, there's a line about my coercive accountability phrase that is completely from out of the sentence before it and the sentence after it have nothing
Well, it's
to do
also
with
like I clearly didn't understand what it meant when I put it in there.
but it sounded really good.
I just wanted to use it. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I went back and reread it. I was like, nope, doesn't make any sense.
Anyway, tell your friends about Ed's Not Dead. Thanks for listening. If you want to give us show feedback, we'd love it. We're a little short on show feedback, so tweet us, send us an email. Or what's our email?
edsnotdeadpc@gmail.com.
Yeah, so send us an email. We'd love your feedback. We'll read it on the show. Thanks, folks. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.